Hey guys, today we're going to be talking about the properties of a power. The first property we're going to be talking about is the multiplication. When we have an expression like this, we don't multiply the base and the power. What we actually do is, since they have the same base, we're going to keep that base and add the exponents. How this works is, imagine we have 2 squared times 2/3. We keep it the same base and adding the exponents to the 5th. What's actually going on there is when we expand those terms, 2 times 2, the first term, this term as 2/3. What's actually going on there is not that we're multiplying the bases and the exponents. We're literally just, the powers tells us to do how much we're gonna multiply the base. Like this one's 2, this one's 3. 2 plus 3 is 5. It's literally just that. What about this one? x2 and x4, we keep the same base, add the exponents. If we expand it, the first property is downward. Actually, if they have a different base, then the bases would multiply. For example, 5 squared times 7 squared. 5 times 7, 35. This 4. Next property, which is a negative exponent. Now, if we have an expression like this, we don't know what multiplying a number negative times is. We don't know what that means, except for geniuses, which I'm not one of. What's actually going on here is that a is the denominator of 1. So we turn the expression into a fraction, and that a to the x is gonna be our denominator, and the exponent turns positive. For example, 5 negative 2. That could be 152, which is 125. So, and our next property would be divisions of a power. Again, you have the same base, so you would keep that. You know how division is the opposite of multiplication, and the multiplication of the same base, you add the powers. If that's the opposite of division, what's the opposite of addition? It's subtraction. So x minus y. You know what? Let's use a variable x5, x2. Same base, we'd keep that. X5 minus 2 is 3x cubed. What happens if you have a negative denominator? X5, x negative 2. X and y would subtract. So if y is a negative number, in this case 2, then that would be a positive y. So x5 x2 is 5 plus 2 x7. It also has a different base division. Ax by would be abxy. 10 x5 5x squared. They have the different coefficient. 10 divided by 5 is 2. This x cubed. Our fourth property is the zeroth power, a to the 0. I'm gonna use logic in this one. 8x. We know that a to negative x is the same thing as a positive x. Just 1 over positive x. If we flip this and turn that into a denominator, then if we turn this into a fraction, that would be a to the negative x. I'm gonna write that down here. 1 a negative x and 1. What is that spot in there? That's the a to the 0. Now what does that mean? If the denominator has a greater number than the numerator, then that would be less than 1. If the denominator has less value than the numerator, that would be more than 1 or greater than 1. So what I mean here, if a to the x is positive because x is positive and a is also positive, then 1 would be something positive that would be less than 1. Now, if a has a negative x, we would assume that that number would be negative. Let's ignore that this will turn into a fraction because that's like 1 x. Assume that that's a negative number. Negative will always be less than positive 1. So if 1 is being divided by a number that's less than itself, then it would be greater than 1 also. 1 x when x is less than 1. 1 over x would be greater than 1. Now a to the 0, what we actually mean there is a is being divided by itself, and a number is divided by itself will always be 1. That's why I made this thing in here. This will always be 1. This will always be greater than 1, and this would be less than 1. I hope my handwriting is visible. 8 to 0 is 1. Our last property is power of a power. Ax y. That is ax times y. So we're gonna have our example here, 2x squared 5. We'll use what's called the distribution property. So we distribute that to x to 5, which we know that is that's not 7, that's 10. It's 10 to 5. This would be 10 and 2x squared in parentheses is 2x squared. No, 2 squared x squared. Now if it doesn't have parentheses, that would just be x squared, because that term doesn't have a parentheses that includes the coefficient 2. Just like how negative 9 squared is negative 81, and open parentheses negative 9 close parentheses squared is 81, because this 9 squared is 81, but that negative remains, and this is a negative 9 squared. So negative 9 times negative 9 is positive 81. So these are all the properties of a power. Now I have this one problem for you. How would you solve this? As you can see, we used all of the properties: division, multiplication, power of a power, and negative exponent. I'm actually gonna tell the answer in the comments, but I want you guys to actually try this in the comments, so you guys can put your answers in the comments, and when there's enough entries, I will pin the right answer.